If you are not using Celery in your music, you could be missing out. And by Celery, I of course mean Foley. In this video, I'll share with you a few different techniques you can use to add more creativity, originalness, is that a word? Originality, uniqueness to your music. For those that don't know, Foley is real recorded audio that is often recorded for post-production of TV and film. For instance, if you're watching a TV series and someone's bone breaks, chances are it's Celery. Delicious. Okay, so now let's look at one way that you can use Foley in your tracks. Let's look at layering up some beats with Foley to give them a organic and more interesting texture. I've got a folder that I downloaded today from freesound.org. That's a great website, by the way, if you're just looking for any random bits of audio. So I've got a basic beat here, just a kick, snare, and hi-hat. So the first thing I might want to do is actually decide my snare is a little bit too dull, it's a bit too thuddy, a bit too 200 hertzy. I might want to add more top end to it, a bit more snap. So for instance, I could add some white noise, I could look for another snare that already contains this characteristic, or another snare and just layer it on top. Or what I could do is use one of the sounds I downloaded. For instance, I think a twig snapping could sound quite good. Let's give it a try. So as well as layering on top of pre-existing drum sounds, what we can do is we can use the Foley in its own rights as individual instruments or individual drums in this drum beat. For instance, using Foley is a really cool way to get some interesting percussion sounds. Let's have a look. Cool, so that is just one way that you can use Foley in with drums, either layering or adding them as their own individual parts. Another way is to just use Foley to add some ambience and atmosphere to your tracks. For instance, a classic, maybe overdone one, is adding vinyl crackle, like a vinyl player just playing the end of a vinyl. You get that lovely white noisy crackle, and that just has a really nice sound to it, adds a really nice texture. You'll often hear it in beats and lo-fi music. Or another one I like the sound of is waves crashing. Once again, that kind of white noise, full frequency kind of sound, maybe with a little bias towards top end, but yeah. And once again, maybe it's a bit overdone, but these are great in intros just to kind of set the scene. You could also use drones of background traffic or noise or any cityscape kind of thing that also has a kind of feel, and it sets a tone to your song. So that can be really interesting too. Here's an unreleased track of mine called Coastline, and it was all about living by the sea. So inherently in the title and in the general feel of the track, I thought some waves crashing would be nice in the intro. So here's how I use them. Fairly simple, nothing special, but I just think it adds an atmosphere to the song. And the third way is to use them more in a sound design kind of context. You don't just have to use them raw, you can sample them, you can pitch them, you can filter them, you can apply different types of synthesis to them, like additive or granular, and you can get some really great and interesting results. I find that pitching down tends to be better. You tend to get more kind of bassy, droney kind of interesting textures. And sometimes if you pitch up, you get more kind of chipmunky sounding things, but that could work for like an impact or just some more high frequency kind of sound. Let's have a play around, let's have an experiment, let's see what we can do. Here I have a ship foghorn, and I think that could sound really good if we manipulate it a little bit, maybe pitch it down even further, and it could make quite a good bass sound, I think, or a good bass drone if we stretch it out. Okay, so I'm loading up the sample into the quick sampler here. Playing an octave lower, really deep. It's nice. Okay, let's come up with a little riff maybe. Now maybe play with a filter. Change the cutoff. Maybe we can modulate it, maybe. So go to the mod matrix, bring up the LFO2, and aim it at the filter cutoff. Now we got a bass whomp sound. Let's make it 1/8 notes and sync it. Drive it. Okay, that's cool. That could work. For instance, you could load it up into Alchemy, or even just throw it straight into the sample Alchemy and then use the granular or additive modes to mess with it a bit. Okay, so now I'm going to drag it into sample Alchemy this time. Apply it. Try it on the granular mode. Love granular synthesis. That's cool. Yeah. Now additive. Some interesting harmonics going on there. Come with a little rhythm. You get some really interesting pad textures and timbres and tones and weird stuff that happens when you mess with random sounds like this, especially if you stretch them or pitch them down. You can do some generally interesting sound design by using Foley in this way. Okay, so there are a few different techniques that you can use to add some interesting moments, some little different things to your tracks, a bit more creative, a bit more original, that give you your own signature sound. And hopefully this will add an element of drama and story to your music. And if you're stuck with your tracks or need some help finish them, you're trying to get a release out and you can't seem to finish your music, then maybe I can help. I've worked with hundreds of producers now to finish their own music and help them release their own music. And perhaps I can help you too. Not U2 the band, they're already pretty good. If you're interested in one-to-one tuition, you can contact me via my website. I'll drop a link in the description below. And if not, here is some content that YouTube thinks that you will like. Until next time, see you around, take care and have a good one. Wow, that took a lot longer to chew.